Hi guys, now in this video we're going to be looking at some more exam type questions and how you'll be required to answer the questions in the exam, okay, in completing the square. Now in the first example we have x squared minus 9x plus 18 and we're asked to write it in this form. A times x plus b all squared plus c. Alright, so let's just get into it quickly. This is pretty easy. We have x squared minus 9x and that's at a plus 18. Now as we say, you can always make a little note of your workings on the side just to guide you, just in case you made an error of such. You can always track back your steps. Okay, now the first thing when asked to complete the square with a quadratic expression, right? And maybe I should just make a quick note here of the general form of a quadratic so that you can bear this in mind. The general form is ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, now in completing the square, getting it out of this standard form into this form, I am going to take a half of the coefficient of b. So I'm going to say a half of b and then I'm going to square that. Okay guys, so that would be equal to a half of means to multiply, and I'm taking a half of b. If you notice where the b is, exactly in front of x, so it's negative 9. Taking a half of negative 9, and then I'm going to square that result. Okay, now obviously that would give me a half of 9 of negative 9. I would have negative 9 over 2. Okay, and then I'm going to square that. Okay, now I've found a half of b, which is negative 9. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to rewrite my expression, okay, by saying x squared, which is this first term, minus my 9x, and I'm going to add this to the second term, which is my negative 9x. So I'm going to add negative 9 over 2 all squared. Okay, I'm going to plus my 18 and then I'm going to subtract it from b. Okay, so I have a negative 9 over 2 all squared. Cool. Now this is pretty easy from here in. All I'm going to do now is to look for my first two squared terms. Okay, so the term in x, let me denote that in y. So this term here in x square and this term here. Okay, so basically I'm taking out these two terms and I'm open my bracket and I'm going to say x, and this is a negative 9 over 2, negative 9 over 2. And if you notice, these two terms, they were squared, so I'm going to close my bracket and square that. Okay, now I have my constant here to calculate. So basically this is pretty easy. I'm going to say I have a 18 and that's minus a negative 9 over 2 all squared. Okay, so let us calculate this easily quickly. I have a 18 minus, and I'm going to square negative 9, and I'll get a positive 9 nines, 81, and this would be give me a 4. Okay, so I square 9 and I've squared 2, but this is now positive, but remember this negative sign in front of the bracket, so this automatically is going to become negative. Alright, so I have fractions to subtract, so let me turn that into a fraction and I'm going to find my LCD. Okay, my LCD is 4. Now 1 into 4 goes 4 times, and 4 eighths, we have a 32. So I'm putting down my 2 and carry my 3. Okay, now 4 ones, 4 plus 3 is 72, and I'm subtracting 4 into 4 goes 1 time, and 1 times 81 will give me an 81. Okay, so this implies that what I really have left here is 72 minus 81. So I'm going to be left with a negative, and when I subtract this from this, I left with a negative 9 over 4. Okay, So my constant here, this portion here, this plus 9 minus this, will give me a negative 9 over 4. And that's my answer. It's that easy. Okay, guys? Good. Now, if you notice here on my right, I have a second problem, which is just a little bit different from the first. Okay, so let me pull over a bit. Now, in this problem, we have 2x squared, 2x squared plus 4x plus 1. Okay, now basically, if you notice in the first problem, okay, the coefficient of x, let me just pull back over a bit. If you notice in the first problem, the coefficient of x was 1. So if it's 1, it's quite fine to just work it straightforward like this. But if it's not 1, I need to get it in this form first. So what I'll be doing first, okay, watch me carefully now. All right, I'm going to factor out the coefficient of x. So in this case, I need to factor out my coefficient of x squared rather. So I'm going to take out my 2, open bracket, okay, and I'm going to say 2. I'm dividing through this expression by 2. So 2 into x squared will leave me with a x squared, and 2 into 4x plus 2 into 4 goes 2 times, and I have a x, and then I'm saying 2 into 1, and I'll have a 1 over 2, which is a half. Okay, good. Now, if you notice what's inside the bracket now, it's in the original form where I have the coefficient of x here is 1. So this is pretty easy from here on. So that implies, so let's move. That implies that I'm just going to take down my 2. Now, guys, let me change the color. I'm going to take out my 2, bring it down, and then I'm going to do the same thing. The same thing here now with what's inside the bracket. I'm going to find a half of b. And now in this case, what is b? b is 2. That's the coefficient of x. So I'm going to say a half of b, and then I'm going to square that. Okay, so let me just make a note of my workings. Okay, this is my workings, and I'm going to square that, and that is equal to a half of b. In this case, b is 2. That's there. Okay, of 2, and then I'm going to square that. Okay, so a half of 2, we know that will give us 1, and that's all squared. Okay, so in rewriting this now, I'm going to say x squared, okay, plus I'm going to write back my 2x, and then I'm going to add this to the second term. Okay, so I'm going to add 1, close bracket, all squared, plus a half, okay, which is this half, and then I'm going to subtract, okay, my 1 squared from that. Okay, and then I'm going to close my bracket. Now, good, this is looking pretty interesting now. Okay, guys, so let's just sort this out. Obviously, we have a 2 out front that we're carrying that we had factored out, so let's bring it down. So I'm bringing down my 2, and then I'm opening up my square brackets. Cool, and then I'm going to now look for my terms sorry, my first 2 square terms. So open bracket, and inside that bracket I'll have x, and then I have a positive 1 here, so I'm putting down that 1, and I'm going to close my bracket quickly, and this is all squared. Now basically I have completed the square for this portion. Now I'm going to work out my constant just as I did over here earlier. Okay, so now I have a half, positive a half, which is this half, okay, and I'm subtracting 1 squared, and we all know that 1 is 1. So I can put that over 1 quickly, and I can find my LCD, which is 2. 2 into 2 goes 1 time. 1 times 1 is 1. Minus 1 into 2 goes 2 times, and 2 ones 2. So this will leave us with negative a half. Okay, so out here now I would have minus 1 over 2, and now I'm going to close my bracket. Okay, So let me close that. Now if you notice what's happening here, the 2 outside is multiplying everything on the inside. So basically I'm just going to expand and get rid of this square bracket, and that is pretty easy. I'm going to say 2 times whatever is here. So I'm going to say 2 open bracket x plus 1 all squared, and I'm going to use my 2 to multiply my negative a half. So I'm going to say 2 times negative a half. So this is really 2 over 1, so I can cancel out. That 2 will cancel that 2, and leaving with 1 there, 1 there. 1 times negative 1 will give me negative 1. So this works out to be negative 1. And that's my answer. Okay, however, we are not finished with this question as yet, because the second part of the question, they had asked us now to state the values, and it's right here, state the values of a, h, and k. So therefore now we can conclude that a is equal to 2, okay, and h is equal to, and if you notice, and just let me draw this back down a bit to make some comparisons. Okay, if you notice, I have a before the bracket here, so that's my a. 2 is a. And if you notice here now, my h is right there. Okay, so the number that I have here, 1, positive 1, would be my h. So I can say h is equal to positive 1, and my k that's out there, let me change the color, my k, this k here, would be equal to, and this would be my k, and that is equal to negative 1. Okay guys, and that's my answer. It's that easy. Okay, all right, bye bye, thanks for watching. And to get to get our latest videos, you can always subscribe to the channel. All right, take care now, bye bye.